Well, hi, everyone, and welcome to this session of Cyber Exchange Innovator Spotlight. Really excited to have one of our great partners on the line, Automox. And Jay Goodman, who's Director of Product Marketing, is going to talk to us a lot about patch management and a few other things. Jay, welcome to today's program.
Great. Thanks for having me.
Well, good. Well, let's just start off with kind of clearing the air on what is patch management and why is it important that companies include it in their cybersecurity programs?
Yeah, so patch management is just the process of ensuring that all your operating systems and software are patched and up to date. That's there to really help minimize the amount of exposure that your organization has to cyber risk from vulnerabilities within your infrastructure, as well as outages from faulty software.
Well, patch management is always been known as a part of everyone's security programs. Certainly something that every company needs to be working on. As you kind of look at your customers and also the broader threat landscape, what types of threats, kind of on a more ground level, does patch management really help mitigate?
So patch management is a great catch-all for a lot of different vulnerabilities and a lot of different attack methods. We actually view it as the single largest technical vector for attackers to exploit our vulnerabilities that are left unpatched. So we're here to help you not only mitigate your patches that are out of date and mitigate the risks there, but we can also help with automating configuration and automating software deployment across all of your endpoints as well. So what we're really doing is helping you to overall reduce your attack surface by just implementing what we call just simple cyber hygiene principles.
As companies become more agile, especially on the software side, and iterating and making lots of different versions and integrating other third-party, apps within their apps and open source code, are you seeing, like, even over the last couple of years, the frequency in which patches need to be addressed increasing partly because of that, or are there some other drivers as well?
Yes. There's issues all the way from very high cadence patches coming out for certain applications, as well as even like core operating systems like Microsoft Windows are getting more and more patches across more and more of their products, not only the operating system, but across the entire Microsoft suite. And combine that with the fact that a lot of organizations are spending more effort and more time researching vulnerabilities in their own software or employing programs like bug bounties to identify vulnerabilities in their software. We're actually getting a higher cadence of vulnerabilities that are coming out, and then by nature they need to be addressed, typically by patches or through a configuration change. And so we're actually seeing a pretty consistent uptick in the amount of patches and configurations need to be done across customers or organizations worldwide.
Yeah, and it's just more and more point solutions. That ecosystem of software that people use every day is increasing to solve bigger problems in the enterprise. Just means more risk you've got to track. So as you sort of look at the market, what's the big driver for patch management? Obviously, the threat risk and protecting the attack surface, things like that. But is compliance a part of this as well? A lot of the frameworks that people might be following, there's an actual regulatory requirement for patch management.
Yeah, so we do see some compliance requirements around PCI. Then there are a couple of other governmental or other agency compliance regulations that are necessary to follow or that require patch management as part of it. But also, we're seeing a lot of organizations that are starting to codify their internal compliance for patch management as well, and setting SLAs around patching and maintaining their own software and their own infrastructure. And so we actually see that we probably see more of the organizational-based compliance and regulatory components rather than coming from like a PCI or external compliance. But really both drive a huge adoption of patch management. We're seeing more and more organizations that are trying to get smart around patch management and configuration management as we kind of move forward.
Absolutely. It's a good segue into, our world's changed over the last, 12 to 16 months around COVID and more teleworking, which is going to be, I think, more of the norm, even sort of as COVID works itself out. How does that impact the need for patch management? Having just the workforce just working abroad and not coming into one centralized office.
Yeah, so ironically, that doesn't have an immediate impact on the need for patch management. But what happens though is that the need for patch management, that ongoing need and the increasing need as we set up more compliance and regulatory needs, actually drives organizations to look for solutions that are able to kind of bridge the gap between an on-prem solution and a solution that can reach their customers worldwide. And really where we see this manifesting itself is around VPN requirements. So a lot of legacy solutions in our domain require direct connection to or from the server itself to the device to deploy and maintain patches and configurations. And that works when everyone's in a large office, but as we've seen, like that, those days are numbered, and we're looking at actually probably an increase in the amount of remote workforces this next year, which leads to these systems really not being able to stand up. Like VPNs they're a great tool, but they are not a great end user experience. And we oftentimes see our customers coming to us and saying, hey, we can't keep our sales force on a VPN long enough to get the patches they need. Help us to patch these guys. And that's where we come in, and we're able to reach out way beyond where a VPN can reach and ensure that we have continuous compliance across all devices, regardless of location, regardless of operating system.
A lot of companies are moving to the cloud, AWS and Azure, and some organizations may think that the hosting solution is going to be doing all the patching for them. So can you talk a bit about organizations that are moving more and more to these, more industry-leading cloud, services like AWS? How proactive should the end customer be in really staying on top of patch management, even though they're hosting in other places?
Yeah, so that's one of these little misconceptions. Like, there's no question that AWS has a great security set underpinning their organization or underpinning their infrastructure. However, that really does not extend to the actual devices or the VMs that you're hosting on AWS or Azure. What we see is a lot of customers who don't understand that they really do need to continue to maintain their own devices that they deploy within the cloud. And we're here to actually help, because like kind of with the VPN issue, like the thing that we offer is the ability to do this at scale across multi-cloud environments or a blend of cloud, on-prem, and remote devices. So we're able to help you implement a patching policy and then automate that to make sure that you can keep all of your infrastructure up to date continuously with only minimal impacts to your IT operations.
Yeah, and I think more and more people are looking at the cloud hybrid on-prem environment. So it sounds great. You've got the flexibility. And by the way, to our audience, we're going to be seeing a quick demo of some of the Automox solutions in a few minutes. So stay tuned for that. I'm excited to see that. A couple questions before we get there. A lot of our audience members joining, may not have CISOs or large security teams. So how should they approach patch management for those types of organizations?
So whether or not you have a CISO, patch management is still a critical part to keeping a secure environment. And so we're actually there to help not only large organizations that are trying to scale their IT operations, but we're here also to help smaller organizations stand up a true patching and configuration management solution that can help them to automate that process. So they don't need to necessarily focus as much energy on IT operations around patching, but can still have a world-class up-to-date infrastructure.
Yeah, that's great. Well, I guess as we kind of wind up the Q&A portion today, you work with lots of companies, lots of different industries. What trends are you seeing in industries that maybe patch management is most important, or is it something that's just very horizontal across all industries?
So it is pretty horizontal. We're seeing more industries that are kind of lagging behind starting to come forward. So a lot of SLED, so state, local education, those organizations are starting to focus more and more on getting their patch systems patch management systems up to date and getting an actual process in place. So we're actually seeing, as we move to a remote workforce, we're seeing people starting to realize that this is a problem. And also, as we start to move to BYOD, we're seeing organizations that have traditionally not really cared too much about patching starting to become more and more aware of it and starting to try to address that within their organization.
Well, and the threat actors are also becoming more aware of these markets that maybe are the laggards, as you said, which even increases the need for it, just from a threat perspective. Well, this is great. I really appreciate the overview. Why don't we see a demo? Are you ready to see a demo? I will stop sharing my screen. All right.
Let me bring this up here quickly and we'll take a look at it.
Looks good.
Beautiful. So this is the Automox console, and I'm going to take you through a couple of different use cases that we can accomplish within the console here today. I'm just going to help everyone that's listening in to get a little bit more familiar with what Automox is and the Automox console. We're going to take a little bit of a look at the capabilities we have around device and application inventory. Then I'm going to show you guys how to actually buckle down and start automating your patching. I'm going to show you how to create a policy that will just blanket patch everything within your organization with no additional input from the user or the IT admin. So really getting you guys going from 0 to 100 right out of the gate. Then we're also going to show you a little bit about how we can deploy software to an endpoint. And then we're going to close out with showing you how to do some configuration management to improve your overall cyber hygiene and take a look at how to search for a CVE. So this is the console. As we log in, we're going to go ahead and take a look quickly at devices. So devices is kind of the heart and soul of Automox. We're able to quickly click into a device and see all of the different metrics around that device, including some of the actual system details. So we can quickly see like, hey, are some of the local disk spaces starting to get full? We can start to remediate based on that. We can also go down, we can actually see all of the software that's installed on that particular system. And directly from here, we can query and ask about specific software and check to make sure that it's up to date. And actually, if there was something that's out of date, we could actually take a bulk action right away to patch all of those things and send out that command and get it going. And we can do that within a matter of minutes. We actually see customers that use Automox that can go from a very, very out of date system or out of date infrastructure to fully patched in under 24 hours. So let's actually move over to system management now. So from system management, this is where we can see all the policies. We can see the different groups that we have for the different devices. But really what I'm going to do here is I'm going to show you how to automate patching. We're going to create a policy right now to patch everything in your environment automatically with no additional input. So we got to name it quickly. So we're going to call it the Cyber Exchange Patch All policy. We're going to label it as active, and we're going to install all optional and recommended Windows updates. So from here, we can assign the group. We're going to do that right away too. We're going to assign this this group so that once we implement this policy, it's going to start patching the systems within that group immediately. No waiting around. Just we're going to get right to it. So next up, we can pick a schedule. So we have the flexibility to time your patching to specific patch windows or specific days of the week where you want all of your patching to be done. But for this purpose, we're going to go ahead and select everything. We do see on the right, it's going to patch on every single day. If we were to unflag a couple of these, we'd see those unflag as well. So you get a visualization of as to when you're going to patch.
And this is all automated. So once it's a set it and forget it, or do you need to go in and put eyes and keys into it each time or any kind of cadence?
No, this is all automated. So once we start this up, it will continue to run in perpetuity until we tell it not to. We also have the ability, we're not going to set this today, but we have the ability to set end user notifications. So you can customize it however you want. So if you have end users that are highly sensitive to having a reboot happening, we can go ahead and allow them to opt out a set number of times before the patch actually happens, so they can make sure that they have time to save their work or close down different tools, whatever's necessary. Or we can also just inform them that, like, hey, patches are about to install, just so you're aware. But we can set all those notifications directly from here. So we can run either completely silently, and the end user would never actually see any notifications, or we can be very verbose, whatever you need for your organization to make the best policy for them. So we're going to close down these notifications because we're just trying to get things patched today. So I'm going to create that policy, and we're going to see that the policy is on. It is currently patching 2 devices. And I can take the action right now, right here, to run this policy, which will send down a command to agents on all those devices to run the policy, which means that it'll check. First, it'll scan the system for any known software, and then it'll identify any software that needs to be patched and start patching that software right away. So with this, we can go and within just a matter of a couple of minutes begin seeing patches rolling into those systems and keeping them up to date. So with that, I mean, like that, you could be here within 2 minutes of your first install of Automox and automating your patching for those systems. But that's really not all that we're going to do today. We're also going to show you how we can actually deploy software for you. So that this is kind of a time and again pain point for system admins. So again, we're going to go through a create policy, and it's under required software. So what required software is going to do is it's going to take a package and deploy that package for us to the selected groups. So I'm going to name this one Cyber Exchange Notepad++. Anyone who's ever heard me talk before knows that I am a huge fan of Notepad++. So we got to select the package name first. And I've got it on my desktop here. And so this is we have to put the actual name in, and then the version. So this is actually an up-to-date version of Notepad++. And then we're going to select and upload the payload, which is just the Notepad++ installer. So you can use this for any software, even bespoke software that's specialized to your individual company. We don't mind. We treat it all the same. We can just get it in there and get it installed for you. So if we had any command line arguments, we could also pass that at this point too. But Notepad++ is my favorite because it doesn't require any of that. So we're going to go ahead and select all. So you might ask, well, why would somebody need to select all for this? Well, this is because I am a very, very firm believer in Notepad++. And what this is going to do is if you uninstall Notepad++, I'm going to know, and I'm going to reinstall it for you immediately. So we can enforce that software stays on a system. We can actually also create worklets that can enforce that software gets removed from systems. So we give you a lot of control.
And then you can also set up the patching cadence as well.
Correct. So I'm going to associate this group again to the render desktops, and we're going to go ahead and create this policy. So this policy is going to run, or I'm actually going to kick it off manually here right now, run the policy. And this is going to run in the background, and we're going to check back on it here in just a moment and see that Notepad++ is getting deployed on those systems as we speak. But while we're doing that, we're going to dive into actually doing some configuration management. So configuration management, again, we're going to go to a create policy. We're going to go to a worklet. So worklet is one of our premium features within our console. This allows us, actually, let me back up here quickly. This allows us to create any scriptable action and automate it across your entire environment. Actually, I'm going to do this through our community worklets feature that we just rolled out last week. So community worklets allows us to pull worklets from our community of IT admins and system admin professionals and pull them into our console so that we can share those out and allow other users to use them. So we're going to set account lockout for Windows. So when you select this, it's going to give you an overview of what's going to happen. So we have 2 parts to every worklet. We have an evaluation code and we have a remediation code. The The evaluation code is really simply, it's a check to see if we need to run this software or this script. And in this case, we're just doing an exit 1, which means that it's always going to run because we always want the endpoint to be compliant with the lockout thresholds that we set. So I've looked, this is what I want, and we can see like I can set lockout durations and number of bad attempts for a lockout or before it locks out the user. So this is a policy that I want to implement because it's going to create better cyber hygiene. Yep. So we're going to go ahead and create the policy. And then what that does is when we create the policy, it dumps all of that directly into our worklet. And then we can set the individual lockout. So we can set, a 10-minute lockout. We can customize this, or each IT admin can customize it as they see fit. And then we're all set to go. I'm going to go ahead and associate my, let's go with our remote devices.
I was going to ask you about just, smartphones and tablets.
So today we don't have an MDM or MEM function, so we don't do Android or iOS, but we do cover the vast majority of Windows, Mac, and Linux builds, which puts us ahead of many of our competitors. And we do that all with a single agent at scale from the cloud on an agent that's less than 10 megabytes on system, uses almost no memory, and almost never goes above 1% CPU utilization. So we call it an imperceptible, we call it an ultra light agent.
Yeah.
It's practically imperceptible to the end user unless they actually know exactly what they're looking for to find it. But we're actually going to go ahead and add in the legacy systems as well. So we're going to associate this policy. And now what this is going to do is it's going to call down to all those systems once we create this policy. Oops. Oh, we got to set the schedule. So we're going to set this one to run only on the weekends. So we're going to go ahead and create this policy. And this is going to automatically set those configurations on the Win 10 systems within those groups for us, so that we no longer have to worry about configurations. If the end user changes any of those configurations, this worklet will set it right back to where it should be right away without any input from the IT admin. So we're really showing you guys how we can automate the full picture from for both patch management and configuration management, and help to really get your time back and allow you to become a more strategic resource as an IT admin to your organization.
It's a super clean UI experience. I mean, very, very, I know it's robust in the back end, but you guys have done a great job of making it very approachable. I see my icons on the left nav. Very simple. I mean, you don't need to be a CISO, to be able to run this within your organization.
Exactly. And this really, we've tried to make a system that's very easy to use, yet very powerful. And actually that segues nicely into my last use case I'm going to show you guys today, which is, we view Automox as being the tool that really bridges the gap between your IT operations and your security operations. So a common question that you might get from a security operations user is, how vulnerable am I to a given CVE? And so we can actually go to our software here, and we can search by CVE or KB. So I'm going to search for CVE 2021-28437, which is a critical vulnerability from this month's Patch Tuesday. And I search for that, and I can quickly see I have 3 systems that are already up to date because I'm running automated patching on them. But if they weren't, I could take the action to patch those impacted systems immediately directly from here. So we have the ability to show that we're meeting compliance on any given CVE. And at the same time, if we're out of compliance, we can immediately remediate without having to create a new policy or having to go through any other additional steps. It's just, from software, it's one click, insert this, click to search, click to remediate. 3 clicks and you go from, I don't know what my current status is, all the way to, I know that I'm remediated immediately. And then the last thing we can do is we can check and see how we're doing on that Notepad++. installation, and we are 7.9.5. We are up to date, and it's installed on one of those two systems already. So it means the other system must be offline. So we are looking beautiful. So that's my demo for everyone today. I'll pass it back over.
Fantastic. I think I understand why the auto in Automax is there, because it's very automated. You guys have done a fantastic job.
Yeah, automation is a really a key and core competency for our solution, and really allows us to help our IT admins and our SecOps people become not a burden on their organizations, but instead they can start to drive strategic growth and strategic value for their orgs.
Yep, they can spend more time doing other strategic initiatives.
Exactly.
That is fantastic. Well, I'd love to end by showing everybody on the line where we can find Automox in the Cyber Exchange experience. So I'm just going to shut this little window down here. And this is the homepage of Cyber Exchange. And Automox is one of our great vendor partners. I found their name under a provider list. And I just picked a framework. You know, I just picked CIS from my sort of drop down here. I can pick over 20 frameworks. And here you see under the CIS framework, all the different places that Automox can help you fill the gaps in your security program, from continuous vulnerability management to asset management and much more. So if I just click maintain an asset inventory, which you saw from Jay in real time, how he does that, how easy that is. I'm just going to click that tile, and it takes me to a great listing page where I can learn more about this solution. There's a PDF just to learn more, just information beyond what you might get on their website. Some of the pricing. So obviously pricing is important. So there's a good pricing model there for you. Some product specifications. Another thing that's great about Cyber Exchange is when you pick a framework, you might want to know, well, what other controls will this satisfy in my program? Well, we have this great button up here called Analytics. So I click this Analytics button on this Automox solution. It's going to show me that Automox actually satisfies 21 requirements of my entire CIS program. And I can actually see those listed right here. Look at all the great areas that this will do. And there's no other way to map how a solution like Automox actually satisfies these requirements without this great backend, this intelligence engine that we built in Cyber Exchange that does all that mapping for you. So if you purchase Automox and you map it with CIS, you'll be able to check the box on 21 different areas without even having to go too deep and really understand where that happens. All that intelligence is built in. So yeah, we encourage you when you go into Cyber Exchange, you can click Get Quote or Learn More, and Jay and his team, somebody from his sales organization will follow up with you and provide a lot more information. So make sure you check them out on Cyber Exchange. Really great way to get a lot deeper in what you saw today. Well, I think this kind of wraps up our main session today. And I just want to say to Jay, thank you so much. You really know your stuff, and that was a really great overview of Automox. So thanks again for joining us.
Awesome. And thank you to Cyber Exchange for hosting us today. It's been a pleasure getting to show off what we're doing over here and showing how we can really help you to drive automation into your IT operations immediately.
That's exactly right. Well, I enjoyed it. Thanks, Jay. And for all of you there, the audience, we look forward to seeing you at our next Cyber Exchange Innovator Spotlight. Take care and have a great day, everybody.